Welcome to TempWorks videos. The topic of this video is TempWorks Enterprise Hierarchy. The hierarchy in TempWorks allows a staffing company to structure, combine, and separate data all within the same database. A staffing company may have different branches, different regions, different areas. You may have different companies or federal ID numbers. You may be working with staff records and staff payroll, as well as temp records and temp payroll, all within the same database. Some clients of TempWorks have hierarchies which are very straightforward. They have one company, one branch, they only process temp records, so it doesn't really matter what hierarchy you're in. Other clients of TempWorks have hierarchies which are very complex. They've got multiple federal ID numbers, multiple branches, they process staff, they process temp. They may have regional managers, district managers, as well as recruiters in individual branches. One of the goals that we have here at TempWorks is to help you as a staffing company grow your business. So even if your hierarchy is currently very simple, you may want to decide to acquire another company. You may open different branches. You may hire regional managers. You may decide to split out your higher risk business into another federal ID number. For these reasons, we set up your database with the anticipation that you're going to be growing your business. As you view this video, please keep in mind that the hierarchy in TempWorks is specifically tailored to each client we work with. Your hierarchy may look slightly different. You may have different levels than you see in the video, but the process and the rules will still apply. One of the elements of the hierarchy structure as it relates to the permissions is each user who is logging into TempWorks is granted permission to what level they can be working in. So if we go into the administration area and we look at a service rep, in each of the service rep records, we're able to go in and see, number one, the hierarchy ID allowed. This is telling TempWorks how far up can this user see. Can they see everything in the system? Are they going to be locked into the staff side of the business? Are they going to be locked into the temp side of the business? Are they going to be locked into one federal ID number versus another? Should they only be working within their branch? So that higher ID allowed says how far up are they going to be allowed to see records. You also have what is their default branch going to be. So what branch should they be working in when they're working in TempWorks? Also, and what that will do is when they add a new record, it will stamp that branch onto that new record. It will know when you're doing a search what branch you're currently in. Also, the higher ID is what level are they currently working at, or were they last logged in at. So that will determine each user's default branch and how far up the chain of command they're going to be able to see. So once that's established, to view the hierarchy of your database, and keep in mind that it might look slightly different than what I'm showing you, you'll click on the button in the upper right hand corner that shows your username and it shows the hierarchy that you're in. Click on that and that opens up your hierarchy. There are two sections in here. The top section will determine your scope of vision, meaning do you see everything within the entire system? If you want to go in and run reports, run searches on the entire database, you can go in at system level and see everything. Do you want to be working at entity level? Think of the entity as the federal ID number or the company. You can have several different companies. Acquire another staffing company. You don't have to merge everything together. You can keep running them separately. And again, you can split out your higher risk business into another company and still have them in the same database. Class. Think of class as staff versus temp. So if you've got your staff payroll in TempWorks, do you want everybody to see each other's pay? Probably not. We separate them out into their own class, is what we call them. And then branch. Do you want to lock yourself into a branch? So think of the top as your scope of vision. When you run a search, when you run a report, how much data do you want to be able to see? Now at the bottom, this is quite simply system. Within the system, we can have two different companies. Within a company, we can have two different classes. So temp versus staff. Within a class, we can have multiple branches. So let's say you've got someone who should be able to see the North Office and the South Office. You can put them in at class versus temp and then select what is their home branch going to be. Now, selecting this is very important as far as adding records to the database and in searching records in the database. If I add a record at branch level, I'll be able to find that record when I'm working in branch level, but you'll be also be able to find it when you're working at a level above branch. So I could add them at branch level, but let's say I've got a job where we're sharing, the offices are sharing that customer. I can go recruit from both offices. If I'm in at class level, I'll be able to search through both offices and see the records for both offices. So keep that in mind. If you've got two offices, one's in Florida, one's in Michigan, they never share data, people can just be working in branch level all the time. And then they can jump up to class level if we've got a job halfway in between. I'm just going to jump over into branch, and the North Office is going to be my default branch. Also, down at the bottom, I mentioned that there are two sections here. The top is your scope of vision. When you run a search, how broad is that search going to be? The bottom is going to be the branch that you're automatically logged into. It's going to be your home branch. That bottom is always going to be a branch. You have to select what your home branch is going to be. So I'm going to go in at branch, North Office. When I click next and finish, this will confirm I'm going to be in branch level, North Office. This is disconnecting all of the other connections, and it's reconnecting me to that particular branch and saying I can only go up to the branch level. So this usually takes a couple of seconds to update. We'll know it's updated when that button in the upper right switches to North Office. So now, when I add a record to TempWorks, I'm going to come here and we're just going to add a record. We're going to add somebody with some fake data here, and we'll say July 14. Those of you who know me know I can't spell and talk at the same time. And middle initial is going to be J. Here's their phone number. I'm just going to get some very basic data in here. Now notice down toward the bottom of this pop-up window, TempWorks defaulted the North Office onto July 14's record. So I'm locking this record into the North Office. That is the home office for July 14. So when I go to do a search now, keeping in mind I'm in the North Office, I'm in the branch level of the North Office, I should be able to find him. So I'm going to jump over, I'm going to do a search, and I'm going to just find everybody who's in the North Office. Let's just run a search and find everybody. And there's July 14. July 14 pops up because I'm in the same office that they were added to. Now let's switch over. Let's stay at branch level, and let's pretend I am a service rep working in the South Office. And I've got myself locked into the South Office. So I'm going to flip over. We'll know that we've moved to South Office when that button up in the upper right changes to South Office. It's also going to take us back to our home screen. So now that I'm in the South Office, let's go see if we can find July 14th. So here we're going to run a search, and let's see who comes back. And let's narrow it down even more. FOU. July 14 does not come up. We get Terrence Fontaine because we're in the South office and we're in at branch level. Now, as a user, if I have permission to search through both offices, I can come up to class versus temp or any level higher. I can stay at the South office. Now that I'm in at the class level, I am able to search through both offices, the North office and the South office. So once this switches up to the class, now we're in at Geeks for Hire, the temp side of the business. Remember, we had the South branch and we had the North branch. I'm going to come over, I'm going to run a search, and I'm going to say FO, enter, and let's see if he comes up. There he is. July 14 pops up because I'm in at the class level. I'm going to be able to see all branches that were added at the South office and at the North office. Now, something else is we may have somebody who's working at the entity level and their branch is the South branch. What we can do now is at the class level. If I'm in at the class level, South branch is my home office. I click next, I click finish. I'm going to add a record now that I'm at the class level. So if you're adding records at the class level, it means that I want both offices to be able to share that record. So you can do that two ways. You can either enter them at branch level, and then the user goes up to class to be able to see both records from both branches, or you enter them at class level and both branches are able to see them. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add another record, and this one's going to be Andy Elliott, and L is going to be his middle initial, and everybody I know lives on Main Street, and you can just tab down to the zip code. Notice that my default branch is going to be the South branch because that is my home branch, but I'm in it at class level as I'm entering Andy. So now as I've entered Andy, I should be able to find him whether I am in the South branch or I am in the North branch because of where the user was when they added that record to the database. So now I'm going to flip over to branch North. So I added him while I was at the higher level. I'm locked into this lower level. I can see everything that I added at this level or anything that was added by a user that is at a higher level. So now we'll come down to employee. We're going to run a search. We're going to say search, and let's see, there's Andy Elliott right there. Because he was added at a higher level. The user was in at a higher level when they added him. Again, just in review, when you're adding a record, if the user is in at branch level, that record is locked into that branch, but a user who is in at a level higher is going to be able to see that record. If a record is added at a higher level, a user locked in at a lower level is going to be able to see them. But if you add the record at the branch level, someone is in at the branch level in a different branch, they're not going to be able to see the record that was in the original branch. Your hierarchy when you're deciding where to be working, top is your scope of vision. Bottom is going to be your home branch. The only things that you should be doing at the system level are running reports, running searches, and if you're running payroll out of TempWorks, you're closing the week at system level. Remember to think of entities as your federal ID numbers or the companies that you have. And also you may have additional levels in here depending on the complexity of your individual hierarchy. Also, keep in mind all options, administration, and your service rep table. And here, this is going to dictate how high can a user go in the system. So if they should not be seeing the staff payroll, you can say that they're only allowed to go up to a branch level, or they're only allowed to go to temp, or they're allowed to see the whole system. And then what is their default branch, and where were they working last? I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks so much.